Hello, everyone. This is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today, we are exploring the architecture of the modern digital workplace and the evolution of corporate communication. In 2026, keeping a highly regulated, distributed workforce aligned requires far more than basic messaging apps. It demands secure, purpose built infrastructure that simplifies compliance while actively fighting digital isolation. Joining us today is Rob Nikkel, the CEO of Intranet Connections. With over 20 years of leadership experience in the digital workspace, Rob directs a digital workplace platform that has spent more than a quarter century serving operations driven organizations. Under his guidance, the platform has become a trusted operational backbone for financial institutions, healthcare systems, and government agencies worldwide. So, before further ado, let's welcome this very special guest. Rob, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, Rob, we've poured millions of dollars collectively into digital transformation tools, chat apps, and video conferencing suites over the last few years. Yet, paradoxically, global employee engagement numbers show that the teams feel more isolated and fragmented than ever before. So, please go ahead and educate our audience about why this gap and why are so many organizations struggling to stay connected and aligned in today's digital workplace. Go ahead.
Yeah, great question. You had a few keywords in your statements there. I think the assumption was that adding all these additional digital tools to the ecosystem would just naturally solve problems. But that's
Mhm,
exactly what it's led to, is it's led to fragmentation. So we have all these different chat, email, intranet, Zoom, meeting sessions. Like there's so many tools in the ecosystem, never mind core tools to do people's jobs, which are all different in a lot of
mhm.
organizations. So it's just a very complex ecosystem that without some clear governance over those systems, purpose, understanding those systems,
Right.
it's become very complex.
Definitely. I think it's a striking reality. We mistook a massive explosion of disconnected communication tools for genuine operational alignment, right? So now
Yeah.
shuffling between 10 different tabs just to find information doesn't create alignment. It creates digital fatigue, right? So much to the point
Totally.
that you're no longer even productive as much as you'd want to be.
Yeah.
Now, when you take that foundational fragmentation and layer it over a workforce that doesn't even share the same physical office space, you create a very specific type of cultural isolation as well. So, from
Mhm.
that perspective, now, Rob, what do organizations need to do differently to maintain connection and alignment in remote or distributed workplaces? What do you suggest?
Yeah, I think COVID obviously put this to the spearhead a few
Yeah,
years back, right? I mean, we're all
right.
forced. It was a forcing function for us to learn about remote work
Hmm.
much more quickly than but that trend was already evolving, but rapidly we learned about it. And there's a
Right.
lot of things. I think, what historically in the in-office experience, and there's a lot of natural reliance on the non-verbal communication, actually not just being in this 2D reality, but being around people and hearing conversations or the meeting after a meeting, all these kinds of things, right? So yeah, I think you have to be quite intentional in your communications approach for a remote business. You have to have the right kind of rituals, cadences, channels, and strategy that governs all that. And I think cultures historically are built off of things like artifacts, rituals, and traditions. And so what
Yes.
those might have looked like in an office setting, you need to think about how do you mirror those into a remote setting or a
Hmm.
digital experience, right? So whether that's certain daily rituals like huddles, or if it's, certain traditions like virtual town halls that maybe were in person before, things like that. You gotta kind of reimagine those pieces and rebuild them in a digital world.
That is a brilliant perspective because you have to build a single digital town square that acts as the anchor for the entire organization's pulse, regardless of what time zone your team is opening their laptop in as well.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. While building that shared town square is essential for engagement, simplifying how your internal data moves is also becoming a strict operational necessity for security and corporate governance. So, the question to you, Rob, now is why is simplifying your team's experience becoming critical for compliance in organizations? Please touch on that.
Well, I think because compliance really connects back to communication and good communication practices. So, and the thing is, traditionally the compliance tools and the orchestration of them are kind of complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's becoming even more important. We work with a lot of regulated customers, financial services, healthcare, government, where change is happening so frequently and keeping people concise messaging, targeting the right audiences versus like all staff kind of emails or bulletins or these kinds of formats. You need to be much more targeted, concise, and not be repetitive with people that have already gotten the message and acknowledged it. And so, how do you facilitate these things versus manual process? That's been a huge part of our investment in terms of our platform is to keep
Mm-hmm.
that simple, right? So
Right.
you're not using these kind of old ways of approaching these things and really facilitating the process that
Mm-hmm.
kind of workflow.
Definitely. Building on what you've said, Rob, before we go any further into the conversation, I'd like to give a special message to all of our listeners now, specifically to all the business owners, operators, and corporate leaders watching right now. In 2026, operational friction is a compliance vulnerability. If your team has to jump through administrative hoops just to share vital updates or verify a policy, they will find workarounds that expose your business to security gaps. Rob and his engineering team at Intranet Connections have spent decades mastering how to eliminate that friction. With their monumental launch of the new IC 3.0 platform, they've combined robust enterprise security with a beautiful AI powered multi language user experience designed specifically to keep regulated teams aligned. So, if you are ready to kill the tap switching chaos and anchor your workforce in a single compliant hub, visit intranetconnections.com. That is intranetconnections.com. Stop managing the noise and start unifying your workplace structure today. Coming back to you now, Rob, it's a powerful lesson for any executive what you shared. When compliance is simple and directly into natural flow of work, security stops being a policing exercise and simply becomes a baseline standard. So that's amazing to know. To deliver that level of seamless simplicity to modern enterprises, you had to make a massive high stake decisions regarding your own core technical architecture, Rob. So I'd love to understand the story now. Why did you decide to rebuild a 25-year old platform instead of continue to evolve it incrementally? So, what helped you make that decision?
Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, we're a long-standing internet provider for over 25 years. We were founded in 1999, and the founding value was simplicity. We wanted to have a platform that was built for business users, not like low IT overhead. So you don't have to go to IT, like go update this page, go do these changes, make it easy to seamlessly flow information, communications, key documents. That was where we founded. But as you know, like back then in 1999 .com time, we were working with rapid application development technology at that time. But fast forward 20, a couple of decades, that technology and architecture we built on, is no longer the was no longer the leading edge. And as we were facing more demands from customers, we could incrementally improve things, but we needed to move into the ecosystem that our customers were in, Microsoft specifically,
Yeah,
and integrate with that stack, the 365 ecosystem, SharePoint, Teams, all these tools that are used, and create the more connected environment. And again, but back to simplicity, like how do we make it so that these tools can work together,
yeah.
and we can move forward with new technology and AI. Obviously, we're going to get into that conversation. It's a hot button topic for 2 years now, it feels like, and
Yes.
ongoing, right? But to be able to move more quickly with our customer base, we needed to go through that process.
That takes incredible leadership courage. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that, because stripping down an established engine and rebuilding it from the ground up is the only way to ensure your product can natively leverage modern capabilities rather than just having them bolted as an afterthought. Now you've mentioned AI, and definitely this conversation today is incomplete without artificial intelligence. We've been talking about it since 2 years. Yes, it's not even a buzzword at this point of time. Everyone's just talking about it, and so many things are happening. Um, One, I want to understand that from your perspective, what role will AI and connected systems, play in the future of digital workplaces? But I want you to answer that in a slightly different way. So let's do a little time travel right now. And imagine if I were to give you a time machine and we were to go 5 or 10 years into the future. When you get out of the time machine, how exactly do you envision AI changing the digital workplaces? Just paint that picture and what you see when you step down.
Yeah, the change has already started, but I mean, fast forwarding 5, 10 years, that's hard. I'll be honest with you, the 10 years out, things are
Of
going to
course, yeah.
change so quickly. Let's go with 5 years. Even before that, I think there's going to be a
Right.
rapid change in the environment. As we've started to do with our platform, is AI is an enablement tool, right?
Yeah.
It's really there to facilitate and reduce for those frictions you talked about.
Right.
And people, the user experience is changing usually. Look at what we've experienced in our personal lives with just, I'll use ChatGPT as an example. It's such a
Yeah.
basic user experience. It's a
Right.
chat bot, right? But the
Right.
power behind it is incredible. The ability to interact with it and give context. So that kind of thing is naturally going to change into the user experience with internet and how people
Mm-hmm.
interact with their internet and digital workplace to accomplish their job. So that's obviously there. We've got things
Yeah.
like bots. You've got things like
Right.
AI is going to enable the complex activities that you would normally do to your digital workplace. So if you need to
Mm-hmm.
design a business process, you need to kind of build out an application, anything like that, it's going to facilitate that with natural language and natural context given. So you don't have to have the technical know-how. You just need to understand the business context,
Exactly. Right.
right? So that's going to change things. Obviously, agents are a big thing that are coming about, and how agents in the AI world interact with real people and to support their workflow in a
Right.
collaborative way. I think that's going to evolve quite a lot over these next few years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of exciting aspects and the ability to kind of we're facing a real challenge right with in terms of institutional knowledge, and a lot of knowledge is in people's heads and aging workforces. They're going to be leaders.
Right.
How do you turn this into things that can facilitate the emerging leadership in businesses to move to that next generation of supporting their customers? I think that's going to be a huge forcing function for AI adoption.
Definitely, you've painted quite a picture there. That is the real future of work. AI shouldn't replace the human element part of it as well, right? It should handle the retrieval, formatting, and translation layer so that the human beings can actually focus on the things that actually matter. And that is the strategic execution or the collaborative innovation as well. I'm loving
Exactly.
this conversation today, Rob, and definitely we'd love to continue the conversation and have you back, hopefully for an in-person episode that we do the next with you in Mississauga. But for now, today, before we let you go, if there's one final advice that you have for our listeners today, the first step that organizations should take when communication and alignment start breaking down, if you could whisper something into their ears, what would you say and why?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, as I mentioned and started off, we're a software company and we sell a tool, but it's in a simple way. But at the end of the day, it's not just go and add another tool. I think you need to take stock of your environment and where those frictions are today in your digital workplace. So,
Right.
I like to think in the C's when you think about communications and digital workplace. So it always comes down to like understanding your content, creating a quick clarity, and where's your content? Is it current, your content? Where should that content go? Do people know about that? So content's always king in that aspect. And then thinking about, your channels. So what kind of
Mm-hmm.
channels do you have? Digital channels, and what are the purpose of those channels? People know how to use them. Are they accessible? And then the next thing is cadences. So when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
communications, is that regular cadence of communications across those channels with that content. So in regulated environments, there's ongoing changes. Some things might be just annual changes, but some things might be right in the day to day. So understanding the cadences of those changes. If you can start with just looking at those three aspects, I think that's a great place to start before even looking at technology.
Wow, I think this conversation today, it was a masterful starting point, because audit where the fragmentation is occurring and consolidate your digital ecosystem before adding more noise, I think is the go-to strategy. And Rob, thank you so much for challenging the status quo of internal communications and giving us a masterclass in modern operational alignment today. So it was such a pleasure having you. Thank you
It
so
was
very
great
much.
chatting with you. Thanks, Kripa, so much. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Rob Nikkel from Intranet Connections, a masterclass in navigating modern workplace shifts, balancing strict regulatory compliance with employee experience, and understanding how the launch of IC 3.0 is redefining the corporate digital shelf in 2026. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more such resources. To learn more about how we are supporting the ecosystem, please visit the Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. And lastly, a special thank you to our partners, UPS, our shipping partner, and ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering SMBs across Canada. I'll see you all in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.